Hey everybody, this is Al with El Ray Collection. Hopefully everybody's doing well today. Finally got around to doing my 2024 review of the predictions that I made at the beginning of 2024, kind of a review of the whole thing. We'll talk a little bit about the market, where we are right now. I'll come out with my 2025 predictions here shortly, but wanted to look back at 2024 because a lot of times that provides the basis for 2025. So all right, let's uh, uh move ahead here and see what we got. You guys may remember this very much is a this is not I'm not make giving any investment advice. You can pause this and zoom in. I'm certainly not talking about targeting returns. This is just meant to be a fun video. Absolutely no investment advice. Even if I happen to use words like expect, estimate, intend, absolutely, this is really just a fun thing. So please take it as such, and always manage your money properly. All right. So without that, again, meant to be fun. Would love to hear your thoughts. Leave some comments. Really enjoy reading those. And I can't tell you about every potential bias I have, but I'll try to do that. I think if you guys have been watching the channel, you would know that. And then all the scans in this presentation will be mine, unless they're auction results. And again, remember that if I had a crystal ball, I would not have a day job. So just keep that in mind as well. And actually, I have this weird thing here on the screen that I just noticed because I meant to delete it, because the next few slides are kind of a high level 35,000 view on what I like about the soccer market, and it just every now and then it's helpful to go back and just kind of reground yourself. And here I have a Ken Griffey thing here that I left on the slide. Sorry. So, but it'll make more sense when I get to the next slide, which is right here. So these are the current. This is I'm most of the time going to use Gem Rate and Card Ladder for either prices or population. Sometimes I'll use a PSA Pop Report, but a lot of times Gem Rate just is easier to use. And so what I wanted to show here is just, and I want this to sink in as we think about the soccer market. Messi, which is obviously the biggest star, probably the best player of all time, certainly the best, player of the last 50 years. Hopefully I wouldn't get a lot of pushback on that. Messi has in total, across 6,300 cards that Messi has had graded, he has a total of 140,000 cards graded. So let's compare that to some other, players that are out there. And the one under his belt as a professional in basketball already has 3 times the amount of graded cards that Messi has. So he's half the amount of cards, which is also astounding that he already has 3,000 different issues of him. I mean, talk about milking it. 3,000 different cards that are, I guess, generally considered rookie cards, and 450,000 graded cards. And he has played 1 year. And Messi, across his entire career, all the cards, and we'll look at some of his rookies later on, has 140. Whoa, that just blows my mind. And of course, if you compare it to other darling sweethearts in baseball, like here's Ken Griffey Jr., he had 762,000 cards graded, for him. And the actual amount, sorry, I just realized my pictures here covering this up. That's over 13,000 different cards. So twice as many different cards graded in terms of number of issues. But, again, versus Messi, a nice, what is that? 4, 6, let's just round it up to like 5, 6, 7 times the amount. No, not quite 7. What is that? 5 times the amount, and then one by almost 3 times. Yeah. So I mean, it's just crazy to me these is on one versus another. So anyway, if you look at some others, just I think fascinating information. Pele has 21,000 cards graded versus Mantle's 320,000, and Babe Ruth, the vintage stalwart of baseball, has 75,000 graded over 5,800 cards. So, Pele has a third of Ruth, right? And these are just some interesting, comparisons. I made some others just to give you a sense for other things that are out there. It's almost a joke, right? You say Ty Cobb, interesting personality, certainly a huge following, great player. He's got 29,000 over 1,500 cards. And then let's compare that to some of our pre-war soccer greats. Sindelar has 6 cards graded and 44 total copies. By the way, these are from that seemed a little low to me, but there could be some cards that are kind of mislabeled. But even still, even if it was twice that amount, 5 times that amount, it doesn't matter, right? It's completely irrelevant versus some of these other. Wojo and baseball, Walter Johnson has 13,000. Dixie Dean has 600, and he's got all those 1930s cards that are pretty well produced. Mesa has 60 different cards, which kind of was interesting to me. I didn't expect that many different cards of his, and he's got 160 cards graded. That's crazy. And then if you roll it forward to like the 1950s, 60s guys, Garincha's got 1,500, respectable number, and Hank Aaron's got 200 million, and Willie Mays has what 185,000 versus Beckenbauer is 3,000. So anyway, I think this is an interesting thing to come back to when you're wondering, hey, soccer, where are we? And don't think for a second that these pops that we see off to the right are just 1% of the graded cards. No, these cards have been graded for a long time. And I think part of what we get here, outside of maybe some of these 1930s, 60 Deans, where it just doesn't make sense to grade them because of the overall pricing, the regional nature of soccer is going to forever constrain pops. And I think that is just such a great tailwind for this space over time. Anyway, I figured I'd share that because I found myself digging down the rabbit hole, and I figured that you guys may find that interesting. Certainly, I did, and took the time to paste and research this and put it out there for you guys. So hopefully you get some enjoyment out of it. Let's go to some of the things that I think and that I talked about at the beginning of 2024. I thought that we'd see a new pre-war soccer card hit 10K plus. Did over here? I don't know exactly what you guys can see on your screen here, since I'm sharing this one. The free, which is this card right here, had a massive showing. I had to pay a lot more than I wanted to get this, but that wasn't the only card that crossed the threshold. We also had, this Bane Shield, this Bloomer Bane Shield crossed the 10K mark. We had the, Great Sale, which seems like forever ago, of the Wharton as well. That was like 43,000. So, we easily cleared this one. And I think, we had already mentioned this, and most people in the hobby are quite aware of those sales. So I won't dwell on those. The next thing is harder to quantify because the Messi market is rough, in terms of what is the Messi market. There's so many different cards, as we just saw a second ago. There's thousands of different cards. So I tend to look at kind of the bigger cards, and I said that I hated to call a bottom in any market, but I believe that the collectors for the long haul would find the 2024 attractive entry points good, especially for key Messi rookies. That was kind of my hypothesis walking into 2024. And here's kind of the performance of right here. You'll see on the left hand side the PSA 7, 8, and 9 mega cracks. You can see that the 9 in particular in 2023 was trading around the 20K. Again, not a ton of data points. It creeped up to, you know, 30K and mid 2024. So that's a pretty big increase. And then the latest sale is 50K. So who knows if that's an outlier. But here you could definitely run a regression here in this line and say that, wow, that's probably an upward sloping line. Similarly on the 8, kind of bottomed out around, you know, the low 5,000s and kind of creeped back up to, you know, close to 9,000. And then on the 7, we've got one little recent data point here, which happened actually in January, but in 2024, I think you could also run a regression line through here from a low of 3,000 in mid 2023, kind of getting down to that mid 3,000 range, and then, you know, ramping back up to, you know, most recently like 5,500 on a 7. Except for this one, which I'm not familiar with, but even still 4,500, it's still clearly up and to the right. So it looks to be 2024 looks to have been certainly close to the bottom on the 71 BIS market. I did not go into a tremendous amount of other kind of analysis, but I do have some more anecdotal things. You know, because it's impossible to look at every messy card, which is what this slide talks about. And sorry, I keep changing I'm going over my words here, but what you'll see is just, you know, the elite level cards for Messi have done shockingly well, whether that is you know, soul of the game, whether they're, you know, this instant one of one, this black sold for 126,000. This one, of course, that we'll talk a little bit more about this gem mint Messi mega cracks PSA 10 that went for 322, you know, beyond where significantly above the last PSA 10. And these green, I mean, this treble out of 10, I mean, this is crazy. This green treble, I mean, this thing used to be $50 pre boom, and now selling for 15,000. And even this, you know, 2023 you know, super fractor, a Messi one of one sold for 40,000 in his Miami kit. So, you know, just some of these things, just, you know, these are just strong sales any way you look at them. So in general, you know, I'll actually back to this. So, you know, this was, you know, what I think that I forgot to put a green check mark on this. Oh no, here it is. So it's a big green check mark. I think the Messi market is strong. If you got in, you know, especially kind of in late 2023, early 2024, you would have kind of experienced a good entry point. I mean, everything remains to be seen, but I can't imagine Messi doing anything that would, you know, negatively impact his legacy at this point on you know, I figured that PSA would resume grading the Messi sticker, and they did. As you can see, we had Matt said good news on May 13th, so about mid-year, that they'd start resuming grading that after a multi-year hiatus. The current pop back then was about 168. Well, not about, it was 168, and the 71 BIS was at 742. So let's see kind of where we ended up. You know, here the Este now has 198, and then the BIS has at PSA 830, 1,400 total with other ones, but 830. So basically that meant that that you know, SE still hasn't cleared 200, and I would have thought there would have been a wave of demand. Now there was some, right? From basically 170 to 200. That's 30, so that's a pretty big jump, but it's over a very, you know, there was a couple years I think that they didn't grade it. So I would have expected much more. And before with the BIS has been growing too, so you've got this kind of 4-to-1 BIS to Este has maintained despite this kind of influx of Este. So it was interesting that the 2024 increases were roughly 2-to-1 in favor of the BIS. And still, as we sit now, more than 4-to-1 in general. So I kind of am solidifying between the Este sticker was always my number two Messi sticker, but even more so right now. I think just based on this fact pattern, you gotta love the Este sticker, and even in high grade, it's basically high grade meaning nines and tens. It basically has the same pops as the 71 BIS. I mean, even less. So I feel like there's some opportunity here in the Este sticker. Again, no investment advice. I personally like the look of it as well. So that's that. Related to Messi, I had three different. I didn't fully realize this. Three different Messi for mostly a vintage collector Messi predictions in 2024, which I thought was actually interesting when I was reviewing this. So I thought that we weren't going to see a $250,000 soccer card sale in 2024. Of course, after that amazing 1.3 million Pele Alifa and a bunch of other really kind of important sales through time. I didn't really think we would see that. I didn't see anything necessarily coming to market, and this Gem Mint 71 BIS did, and it did 322, which was 30% higher than the last sale, which was at 266. So always hard to guess on these things. I didn't know a PSA 10 was going to come up, but I wouldn't have guessed that it was going to clear 250 anyway. And this is the only sale that I'm aware of that cleared that 250. So I was wrong on this one. And it's obviously good for the soccer market. You'll see that somebody, I think this ended up to be more of a hoax than a reality. Someone was posting a bounty on all other 19 of the PSA 10s at 275,000 each for this card as well. So take that for what it's worth. I don't put a tremendous amount of focus on it, but I did think that was interesting to just show demand. Some other kind of interesting that didn't even get close to that, but at least from my most people are thinking about me from a vintage perspective. There were some, depends how you want to look at it. Good, not good sales on the some Pele Alifas and some other this postcard, the Sportos also did like nearly 20,000. So a few other things. Look at the Alifa one was signed. What would you rather have? A PSA, 5 that was signed, or a PS. But it not nearly to the level that we had seen a couple years ago. Okay, on to the next one. Sorry, looks like took a little bit to load there. I expected the year of the collector to continue in 2024. We had seen a lot of the year of the collector type stuff in 2023, meaning prices were stable to down, availability was high. I didn't see any specific market catalyst to drive things significantly ahead or not. Thought it would be a great time to be a collector, rough to be a flipper, and that was absolutely true in 2023. I figured that many things would continue to be around pre-pandemic pricing. And it was a great time to chase down stuff on your want list. And the result of 2024 is, largely it depends what you collect, right? So, I think that mid grades, low to mid grades of more common material are absolutely, those didn't move much. In fact, I'd probably say they went slightly down. But higher end cards, especially of rare cards or second tier quote unquote players, generally increased in 2024. So it really kind of depends on what, to a certain extent. It's hard. I still think you could have gotten a tremendous amount of things. I have a bias to give me green here, but if you were, collecting early Balancieri cards like the one I have here, there was a sale of his card that went for more than $5,000, and this right here is, I think, the earliest known card. So this was like a 1927 Lorati, went for like $5,000 or something. So that I think, if that's on your want list, then are kind of feeling like you may have missed the boat on that one. But and maybe those were just one time things, but there were a lot of those types of examples in 2024 of kind of second tier players that wouldn't be on a greatest all time list of certainly the top 100 players. They'd make a lot of pre-war lists, but there aren't many of those. So, and those were doing significant dollars. So it really depends on what you collect here. For some people, I think the market kind of got away from them on certain things, but I think for most items, we're still at a really great entry point. And even those rarer items, if soccer does well over time, I think those will be great items in the long run anyway to have. And this is just a view from the overall market. I tend not to use this. This is the soccer index at Card Ladder. It just provides some sort of a proxy. It's mostly chock full of like prospects and Ronaldos and Messi's, and mostly modern cards. Prism stuff. Lots of people who were hot back in the day that are no longer hot, like maybe some Fatih's in this or something like that. But it's been down about 26% over the last 2 years. That's this graph over here on the upper left. But it's been, as you can see here in 2024, it's been down about 10%. I'm not exactly sure what happened. Must be some big index card here in the summer. Was a dump, and then it's relatively stable. So probably a material card in the index had a step down, and then we've just been stable. So I tend to look at these right here. It's pretty stable, down 10% if you include this piece, but down 36%. Long story short, certainly not up to the right, but that's more a function of kind of the modern dynamics, I would say, than overall soccer dynamics. So I don't spend a ton of time on that. The other thing I thought is we'd finally get to 1,000 members in the Discord. I thought we needed to temper our growth expectations. We started the year with 925, and we ended the year with more than 1,000. I guess you can't see it here, 1,098. So it was pretty strong growth. I mean, if you think about it, 20% in the Discord is kind of stronger than I thought. I figured we picked up maybe 10%. So that's kind of exciting. Of course, it all matters on how many people are active, really. And it is basically this HTTPS site. Check that in, sign up for the Discord, and join us to talk about mostly vintage soccer, but we also have places for lots of other niche sports like cricket, F1, as well as we talk about modern soccer and other things as well. So anyway, long story short, here is the Discord. Please join it. And I successfully predicted we would grow past 1,000, and we did actually much more so than that. On the next one, I was kind of a grading, a couple, different grading predictions that I had. I actually thought that that CSG would gain ground on their kind of low pricing, and it would be around 10 to 12 bucks, and the PSA would still stand strong at around 15 for most of 2024. But you're really kind of outside of the TCG, PSA really even stood stronger than a $15 floor. I mean, you had to get the right promotion to get $15 in 2024. And I figured that more people would grade with CSG. I think they did on kind of the TCG Pokemon side, but I don't think they got as much market share as they were maybe hoping on some other things. I thought that SGC was going to remain niche focused and have pretty good turnaround times, and I thought the Beckett was a wild card, which is just a crazy shit show over there still. In the end, I think this was pretty right. I think the dollars ended up being a little wrong. We had the PSA would have some 13.99s. Pretty rare that they would have those. Most of the time they'd have 15.99 or 17.99. So it just, they didn't really even come down. I think that probably their ASP, their average selling price on these lowest, I'm gonna guess non-TCG, probably at least 16. I'm maybe even higher. So I'm just gonna, I'm gonna say that the PSA even held stronger than I thought, and they're still grading 1 million plus cards a month, so there's no real need for them to lower prices. It'll be interesting to see how this holds in 2025. Still kind of consolidating my thoughts and looking at some data, which I'll show you here on the next slide. So that's kind of where I thought that we'd see more pressure from CSG, and that pressure forcing PSA to dip a little lower. So a lot of CSG orders you could even get below $10 a card. So I just feel like if PSA is still maintaining a 50-60% premium, unless volume starts to dry up, I am not sure we're going to see them, continue to decrease their prices. What they may do is keep the same prices, but as demand, shutters a little bit, I think you may see turnaround times get better for the same price. But let's see. Beckett was recently disposed as its owner. Went into prison, I believe, for insurance fraud, and oh man, so we got some real winners in this hobby. Anyway, let's see how the Beckett reboot does. It is a great brand, so let's see. You know what, the jury's out, and I do not believe that Beckett will come back and be super relevant. But could they be worse than they are today? Probably not. So let's say they get a step up, but it's immaterial to the overall market at this uh, uh, at this point in time. So regardless of the market, the grading business is still up and to the right. The scale of this is actually surprising to me, that 2024, like I kind of thought that 2023 was kind of the top, and that we wouldn't see huge volume gains. As you can see, there's 20 to 30% in any given time period of volume gains in 2024. I kind of thought we would see that drift the other one by Yama effect, and that's 400,000 cards, like you saw, itself. So that's kind of a decent buffer, and maybe some of the Pokemon prismatic set that just dropped this year will fill the hole that went by on. I guess there's always a new rookie. It's just that one seemed exceedingly high. So let's see. I don't know, but it's definitely up and to the right. So this would tell me that the market's healthy, at least on a grading front. So that was that. Sorry to clear my throat in your ear. So the other thing is, I figured that we'd find a couple new rookies. This always seems to be a trend in soccer. A few different things that we saw. This early Brazilian one, which you saw here in my hand. Going back to the bank today, but figured I'd show it to you in person instead of just this scan. So this is an early freed. There are a number of early freeds that have been kind of out there that I've seen pictures of. So either 21 or 22. So it definitely is, the earliest one that's graded at least. So that's exciting to have. We also had this DD, um, which doesn't look like him from a 1947 album. It doesn't look like him, so I've got a question mark there. And this 1965 Rivellino, but this is actually more of a cardboard disc within a game puck. So not I'm not really calling this a card yet, but the point here being that there's always stuff that people are fine, and that's pretty exciting. So happy to see that stuff. I also thought that the pre-modern cards would kind of hit a bottom in 2020 for they had pretty terrible 2022s, and the 2023 pops has slowed down, and I kind of expected some of these cards to move up. Didn't really have that effect in some cards. Yes, I mean, just like it's always hard to talk about the market. For others, no, you'll see a lot of stuff on this slide, but I just kind of felt like it feels still a little bit like a minefield. It's weird that the headshots have done, have not seen explosion in pops, and the more inaction ones have. But I've also taken a step back and saying, look, at in general, these are just low pops, right? So while yes, I much prefer the headshot here in this is Iniesta. So this is the Iniesta headshot where there's 11 nines and 2 10s, and there's 100 plus of the inaction one now with 27 gems and 26 nines, incredibly high in stickers. While that is certainly true, just going back to the number, I mean, these are key, one of the best midfielders of all time, and you're talking about rookie stickers, and you're talking about, let's say we even double this, triple this, 300, 400, 500. Right now we're sitting here between the two of these at like 150. So let's triple that, say 500. One of the best midfielders of all time, rookie sticker, right? These are like, they're not crazy pops, right? So we were all kind of shocked when the pops shifted, which you can't see because I'm covering them here, but we ended up with 27 10s, 26 nines. But I just wanted to come back to and say, yeah, that was certainly a big shift, but it's not, these aren't big pops in the scheme of things. You can see here what happened in the pops. You can see this a little better, that we went from like 70 plus, big submission, lots of high grades. The gem rate goes from 6% to 25% of the pop because so many of these graded 10s, and that's completely understandable, and why the pre-modern is a little bit of a minefield. But at the same time, these aren't huge pops. And then other ones like his headshot, there was a similar bump at some point here in the past, but it wasn't, this was quite a while ago. And so moving on to, and sorry, it looks like some of these slides are like loading a little slowly. You'll see that we also have kind of a different phenomena here in KDB, but not completely dissimilar numbers. He's got 139 of inactions and 18 of headshots. Yeah, let that number sink in. 18 headshots, stickers. Now these come out of Belgium, smaller country, but that just blows my mind. And certainly it feels like on a number of fronts, a lot of these headshots are kind of SPs. They might not be noted like that, but it certainly feels like that. So if you don't believe me, let's go look at the, this one, it was kind of in the way, but I'll look at the Lewa here in a second. And then let's see what happened with some of these other pre-modern guys. This was a Zidane, probably should have lifted this up. Still crazy low pops on it, 137. It's his only rookie, so like it's basically the same as a KDB in action in total. And they added the Pop Report added about 20 in 2024, which for a sticker this old, it seemed like a relatively higher number than I expected, but pricing remained relatively stable, so the market's chewing it up. And again, you're where do you want to put Zidane in all-time greats? Okay, if you had him outside the top 50, you're probably a little biased, or you're anti French or anti Real Madrid, right? So, but let's just say top 50. Some people have him in his top 10, top 20, top 30, whatever. One of the all-time greats of the sport. That's a global sport that has more than 100, in 20 years being played at a global level. I just feel like, wow, this 137 is just such a low number. Right? If this was numbered to 200, I just feel like it would be just absolute bonkers in terms of market value. Anyway, so here's the next slide that I had, which looks like it's taken a second to load here. Was and sorry, these are really heavy graphs. You can place any questions you have in the comments. I'm assuming you can't read them super well, but they're here just to show trends. Again, the headshot here for Lewa, it's not as dramatic as KDB. There's 170 of the headshots and nearly 200 of the inaction. So again, super hard right now to gem both of these, with only a handful in between both of them being gemmed. So you see you've got, well, actually here I've got 26 being gemmed, but that's obviously a lot less than the Iniesta on a percentage basis, and 7 of the headshot. So, anyway, the headshot appears to. All right, let's see if this one will come. I thought that the vaults were going to start to jam you. This did happen a little bit at Fanatics in terms of some of the fees they charge you when you transfer and or ship from the vault into other accounts. So I kind of feel like the 1% PWCC return, I kind of feel like it's numbered, but because of the transition between PSA and eBay, I think that's kept things down. They're more about system-wide use right now, and that's probably going to exist for another year just due to these transitions. But if you have stuff that you are looking to take out of the vault, uh, I feel like the pricing right now is much lower than what it could be. So I would have a bias to take things out of the vault that you want at home, especially the PSA vault, which charges you $1 per card. So I would definitely do that, and I think any incentive to increase pricing is kicked down right now. Sales through the eBay/PSA platform. Okay, so I actually thought that some slab corrections we would see those happen, and there were a few. Probably the most important was this one. The Pele gets from the 1958-59 Queagle, it goes to a 1960. So it was relabeled and continues. I think there's going to continue to be some relabeling things, just for the foreseeable future, just because of the nature of some of the errors that have traditionally been made. I thought that I'd get a couple items off my top 10 most wanted list. I got one instead of two. But I unfortunately had to set a new pre-war soccer record to get it. Lots of demand on that one. Again, super excited. Thanks for all the shout out for everyone who cheered for me on this one. Super, super happy to have it. And that made 24 a great year for me from a collecting standpoint. Would have loved to add more, don't we always? But we'll see what happens in 2025. Always great to have that stuff going on. So the review here, trying to keep it short and sweet, was that a new pre-war soccer card. I mean, you can see this stuff. I'd say that we did better than what I think you generally expect. It's certainly not random. I have some of these you can argue one way or another. I mean, there's a case where you could say that that I was probably 10 for 12 here. I kind of give myself half credit on a couple of them, so probably ends up being more like 8, 9 for 12 when you kind of add it all up. But I think it's a pretty good sense for the market. I mean, I think it was a solid year for the market. I think lots of solidifying things happen in terms of a broader base interest in second tier type players that aren't on the all-time great list. I think that's very interesting. Than you would expect in some of the other core vintage and certainly modern, pre-modern markets. So that's kind of exciting, at least to me, because that's where I spend a lot of my time. But in general, it's a solid. It's a solid 2024. It looks to continue some of these momentums in 2025. I'm still working on my 2025 predictions, so that'll be out soon. So that reminds me, if you like this video, please like it below and subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed. And you can check out my 2025 video coming up here at some point shortly. And I do appreciate all of the interest in you guys watching my channel through the course of this year and before. So thank you for that. And again, let's stay tuned for my 2025 predictions. Hopefully you enjoyed the 2024 review. And, if you haven't, join the Discord so we can talk vintage soccer cards. Thanks so much, everyone. Take care and have a great 2025. Hopefully your 2024 was fantastic as well. Take care. Bye-bye.